yesterday go?
I didn't go yesterday because I had a doctor's appointment, so Gina probably knows.
Okay, I thought maybe you worked the magic board yesterday or something for some of the classes. No. Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and start recording.
Okay.
I've gone ahead and went live on Facebook a second ago so that I didn't have to think about that. So we are live and people will be joining, just kind of coming in. I've noticed this summer people are more likely to stroll in like when class starts or a few minutes after. Nobody's getting here for that 5 minutes of silence beforehand, but today you weren't silent beforehand, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Usually I have to fill the space with chatting.
I'll get a few minutes and then I'll just start, I guess, so that those who have come in have class, you know.
Awesome.
So if we came, 7 or 5 minutes early, we get to hear him do this wonderful improv. Huh?
Sometimes, yeah.
I mean, is that the earliest? I don't want to miss any.
Sometimes I mute it before you get to hear it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was hoping to wait until Alan got in. Alan was going to talk about one of the pieces today, but if he's not in when it's time to start, I can start somewhere else.
Okay. Well, it is 2 o'clock and he's not here yet. So if you want to go ahead and introduce a piece and talk about what you're going to do today.
Sure. I'll start.
Okay.
So welcome to all of you who are here today. Those of you who may come in a little later, I'm going to look around here, my little thing, and see if I can see anybody here. I know we got a couple of people in here. Yeah, we got some people. Good. There's Lynn. I think Alan will be joining us. Okay. Let me get this. Yeah. Oh, I just saw. Yeah. Okay. Those of you who are in but don't put turn your video, your camera on. I like to see your face. Diana, I saw you just quickly. There you are. Good to see you. See you walking there. And we got a couple more here. I'll give you all time to get seated. Some of you are moving. I can see that. No problem. There's Alan. We'll wait just a couple of minutes. I'm going to use Alan today to talk about one of the songs I'm going to sing. I've asked him to say a word or two about it. He did the research for me on it, and he's kept that in his head more than me, or he's got notes in front of him. Yeah. So let's start with that piece. This is kind of a hodgepodge. Good morning, Rena. This summer. Good morning, Sandra. Or afternoon, I guess it's afternoon. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and then we were going to do songs and then talk about the match of the lyric with the song, and does the lyric capture the essence of the melody in the song, vice versa. So we're going to start with that topic today, and then we'll move into other things here. We're trying to get 3 songs in today, so push it a little bit here. The first song I wanted to look at is actually a song written for Walt Disney for one of his early productions of the cartoon. And I've had Alan, and it became, because of its unique harmonically for that period. And jazz players picked up on it real quick and said this would make a great jazz tune. It's also a little different for its period for jazz players to pick it because it's in 3/4 time instead of 4/4 time. Instead of 4 beats to the bar, it's got 3 beats to the bar. Alan, it's for those of you, I'm sure you've all heard it and you know it. It's the song "Someday My Prince Will Come." Someday my prince will come, and I think Alan's got the lyrics and can tell us a little bit about who got commissioned to compose it and whatever else he needs to say. Ready, Alan? You ready to do some of that?
Yeah, I can, Tom. And I'll be brief. Actually, the lyrics are quite long, and it has to do with it being scripted into the film as part of the text of the film. So I won't dwell on those, but I will say this. What kind of brought this up is, to the benefit of the class, is Tom and I have been talking about communication, and music is one of the best communicators of all, because it has a language all of its own, which really creates visual images to the listener. So when music is really successfully understood, there's some imagery there that our minds create that's very personal. The composer and the lyricist may have the lyrics set up for their personal interests and so forth, but the way we incorporate them is quite personal for us. So when this came up, I got quite interested in what the composition really looked like from 50,000 feet. What is the context? Where does it fit? And in this case, Disney had the same issue. And when he was negotiating with the composer in this case, which was a man by the name of, excuse me, I'm just getting a little bit blank here, was Larry Morey. He was a lyricist for this, and Frank Churchill wrote the music, but Larry Morey was making the script for the whole movie. And Disney had this concern that he didn't want it to be too energetic and too busy to take away from the film. He wanted it to be kind of folksy and nice and sweet and all those kinds of things. So they had a lot of dialogue about that. And then it came down to, well, who's gonna sing it? So Disney, and part of his negotiation was working with a voice coach, and the voice coach, knowing who all of his singers were, had found a woman who could fit this in his mind, and she was in her 30s and quite mature, and Disney said, no, I want a voice that more fits the character. And bear in mind, these are all cartoons. And so he came up with this voice coach, and his daughter, who happened to be 18 years old, and her name was Adriana Castellotti, she overheard Disney turning down her father's suggestion, and she just piped up and said, well, why don't you consider me? And here she was 18 years old, and so she kind of sang away, and turns out she was sounding more like a 14-year-old than an 18-year-old, so that was perfect. So she got a 3-year contract at scale to help make this movie and be the voiceover, and so you can see what happens in this case. The whole image that Disney was trying to create was his own creation. He created the faces, he created the characters, the dwarfs, the princess, this handsome prince, and all of this to create an image in our minds. And the lyrics conveyed the scripting that he wanted to, and the voice created further this image that Disney wanted to send out. So I think this whole idea of communications, and when Tom plays this piece, he's going to communicate to us as well his vision of how this plays out. But at the end of the day, it's our partnership as a listener, where everybody, as much of the creative process as is all of those who were directly involved, because we're directly involved by listening and making our own image of this story. So Tom, I think
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to
good.
say. I hope that
Thank you.
fits.
Yeah. Let me read a little bit for, first of all, I need to say this up front. My interpretation of the music, I did not let the lyrics influence me on that. Sometimes I do, particularly in those songs that are standards, American songbook standards, Gershwin, Porter, etc. But in this one, I was so attracted to it because of its melody, its leaps in its melody, and its 3/4 time, and its unusual harmony, places where it goes at times, that I was drawn into the music itself. And although I knew sort of some of the lyrics in my head, I didn't really look at them too much in order to come up with my interpretation, because the music itself led me in a direction that is different from the way, of course, it's scored in the film, which is dreamy. I'll read a little of the lyrics so you know a little bit, but you'll realize that I'm not really quite there in terms of where I'm conceiving of this. Someday my prince will come. Someday we'll meet. Someday we'll meet again. That's interesting there. Someday my prince will come. It's like for the first time, but I guess they met. I don't know the movie well enough. The cartoon. Someday we'll meet again, and away to his castle we'll fly, to be happy forever. I know. That is what's the word I'm looking for? A theme that runs throughout just human history. That longing to meet someone who will make your life complete and forever, and waiting for that person or thinking you've met that person, and so many other stories go off of that into it happens or something, it happens, but then it doesn't go the direction you take. But this is such an old story. It's just so embedded in humankind. Someday my prince will come, someday we'll meet again, and away to his castle we'll go, to be happy forever, I know. Someday when spring is here, we'll find our love anew, and the birds will sing, and wedding bells will ring, someday when my dreams come true. And there are, like Ellen said, there are more lyrics because it's going to tell a story, but you get the idea that he keeps coming back. There's that return always to the someday. And maybe we sort of, and I'm just improvising here on my head. Maybe that's where we live in right now. We live in someday time in some way. Someday, of course, someday we will get a vaccination. Someday we will be able to come into social contact again. Someday we long for that. So the core of the song really is just about some human longing for her in the song to have to find a male, to have that male union contact, to get somebody who you really relate to again, who you want to be with. And that's what so many of us right now are longing for. In our time of social kind of shutdown here. It was okay for the first couple of months, 2 or 3 months, but we all know it's getting kind of old right now. But we're still in it, and we're in it, all in it together. I keep your faces there. I see them every week during the week, and realize that I'm not the only one who's cloistered here. I look at it as a time of kind of a monastic time, cloistering. And think about it, and framing it in that way for me helps me to structure how I want to use this time. Okay, enough said. You'll see that I didn't follow any of those lyrics. That's my version.
Tom, I would just like to add one thing because of the way you played it. At Churchill, who was the composer of all the music and not the lyricist, he actually won in this whole thing because when Disney had it structured for the lyrics, it was in a very reverie kind of a ballad presentation, but all the jazz stuff. And I just got a few lists here, short ones of it. Brubeck, Clark, Davis, Bill Evans, Herbie Hancock, Oscar Peterson, Milt Jackson,
Everybody.
Jarrett. They all swung it.
Yeah.
And it was not anywhere near what it was like in the movie. And in the pop charts too was the same thing. So it was the music and the chordal structure that gave it legs, not the lyrics.
That's right.
And not
the
movie.
lyrics are. You're right. The theme of the theme of the lyric is so basic. It's so the archetypal. That's what I was looking for. It's such an archetype to everything. But as you know, it's not the most beautiful use of that poetically of that archetype. The music just dominates the song, really. You know, the melody and the harmonies. The lyrics start off nice. Someday my prince will come. You know, you want to go from there. But for me, the music just takes over and sends you in the direction. Obviously, because it affected so many jazz musicians. Oscar Peterson, as you said, first person I heard do it was Bill Evans, and then I heard Brubeck, and then I heard Herbie. I was in Cleveland living once, and Chick Corea and Herbie Hancock came to town doing a duo piano concert. And one of the things they played was "Someday My Prince Will Come" as a piano together. It was marvelous. There's a recording out there somewhere.
One last comment, then I'll absolutely shut up for the rest of the class. When I scanned through the jazz interpretations, Brubeck was my favorite one, and only because he used a quartet, and when he was swinging it, he didn't have to do the rhythmic aspect of it. His composition was much more technical. The chordal structure was really quite good. So it depends on how it's voiced, really. But for the pianist, I thought Brubeck kind of walked away with it.
Okay. Well, I'll have to go back and listen to that again. I've heard his, but only once. Other comments on this? I did the way I structured it. I did some things to make it structured to have cohesion. I really welcome any observations or comments about any aspect of my performance or the arrangement or whatever. Some of you jump in here. I know you got some good ideas. Everybody
Go
always has
ahead. It says unknown host, and I can change your name, but I can't remember it off the top of my head.
And I had something I wanted to say.
Yes, it's you. I'm sorry. Well,
Okay. I should be in there as Jeanette, but anyway, what I was going to say was that I didn't hear 3/4 time the way you would think you would hear 3/4 time. In fact, to be honest, it didn't sound very 3/4-ish because you think waltz, and I didn't hear much waltzing. It was not very 3/4, but it was really cool. It was more very much more unstructured than what you would think of as like a waltz type rhythm or tempo.
It wasn't papa. It wasn't. Right. What I did there, to get technical for a minute, I played 2 across 3 instead of playing all 3 beats. Jeanette, you probably heard that. I played dotted quarter, dotted quarter, dotted quarter. These are just, dotted. These are 3 beats each. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There's your 2 against 3. But now here you get the 3. It's not quite steady. 1, because that's too much like a waltz. So a jazz pianist will go. That's what makes it swing. Underneath all that fast notes or things, chord, there's a very steady time, but it's implied time. And it's the time is simply 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So what makes it sound like unstructured time is because I am not playing always real symmetrical phrases where you can hear a 2-bar, clearly 6-beat phrase, clearly 6 beat another. And I avoid making the harmony change on the downbeat of every measure. Otherwise you start hearing. So I'm avoiding that. Ghosting past it and then playing one of the harmonies a beat early, still keeping the next 3 beats of the bar, jumping, being late on another harmony, not even playing anything in my left hand for a minute. And some of the lines I'm playing fit into the harmony, and some of them are just going off of a little idea that comes up in the playing. But underneath this, try to keep it very steady. 2, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. It cross rhythms. That's what keeps it interesting for me. All right, good observation. We'll go on.
Rena,
Yeah.
did you have something to say?
No, nothing in particular except the time I like your version a whole lot better than the movie version. I don't want to take away from the composer, but
Yeah.
it gets too sweet and sappy and a lot more interesting.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Rena. All right, change of pace, new song. You'll know it when you hear it. At some point, I'm going to play a little introduction on it, just improvise freely, a little introduction. And I'm switching now to, that is something you wouldn't expect. Moving along. We'll talk about it when we get done. We could look at the lyrics. Somebody can look them up. I looked them up, and then trying to find them on my phone again, suddenly it was gone. I'll tell you this much: it's written around 1940 by a composer named Jimmy Davis, and it was a country western song originally, but it was so popular that very quickly it lost its country western. Those who then continued to pick it up and record it, very quickly it lost the country western element to it, and has become now known, well, probably all around the world, but certainly it's a very popular song. And it's a popular song out of the period there. But it's been recorded many times in many different styles, but it just has this staying power, this sustaining power. And I took it and really I started thinking about the title of the song, and I'm not telling you that yet. You have to, it'll come to you. And then you'll hear that it's not, I don't make it always, everything is harmonious. Everything is fine and dandy. And I intentionally am taking the idea of the title of the song and saying, wait a minute, when you really examine this kind of relationship, it's not always roses. What kind of a friendship is that? Or, you know? So, you know, what did I do with this idea of, you know, sunshine? You know, you are the sunshine. I almost went Stevie Wonder there, didn't I? Sunshine of my life. But no, yeah. What do you hear? I mean, what strikes you about that? I went to a lot of different places there. I think mood-wise, I tried to.
I think you mix some clouds with the sunshine.
Maybe some rain too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe some sorrow.
Mhm.
Yeah. Maybe some clashing too. Put some harmonies in here that I borrowed harmonic ideas from a couple of people. And here's one spot. Where is it? Up here when I go. Oh, okay. It's all so sweet here. I'm very, very careful to create a counter melody throughout this whole thing. Probably didn't catch it the first time, but the left hand, I tried to create a good counterpoint. End of the phrase. So that's a counter melody underneath this. But then over that, in one spot, I put these unexpected dissonant harmonies, and they're really right out of. I can think of two composers, Bela Bartok and an American composer named Charles Ives. Turned to the early part of the century composer. Sold insurance, but he was a great composer, and he loved to have. He loved to have two or three keys going on at the same time. So it was polytonal, and he wrote a lot of took a lot of American popular, well, Americana music, and put hints of it in his symphonies and his pieces. Anyway, so where I'm going with this is this. So you have very harmonious harmony. Then you get here, there's a little tension. Resolved. Then instead of it's, and here's where I really threw in Charles Ives. Then it was finally resolved. Almost resolved. Not yet. Pushing forward. That note's going to push us forward. Etc. Now go on there. So constantly in the piece, I'm trying to create this sense of breathing. I create tension by the use of a note that is outside the harmony you expect, and it creates a little tension, and then it'll resolve, but it won't stay there long. So it just keeps pushing, because the song really only has 4 chords in it. The basic song, the simple popular culture song. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. Da da da. 4 chord here, da 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 da. Back to the 1 chord. Da da da. 4 chord, da da da. 1 chord. Da da. This is 1-6-4 chord, 5 chord, 1. That's 3 chords. F, B flat, C. So, you know, that's gonna play out pretty quick if you don't do something with it. I need a little feedback.
One thing I noticed was both in this song and the previous song was they both are songs that just on their face and on their surface and as written are very sentimental, but you removed all the sentimentality to me, or most of the sentimentality is gone.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah. Well, that's a compliment.
I thought that's what you were trying to do.
I don't want it in there at this time, of my life.
Jeanette, I think not just sentimentality, but the sappy part of it.
Yeah,
Do that
yeah.
again.
Yeah.
The sappy part. Yeah. Yeah. I've written that out.
I mean, sentiment is fine, but
Yeah. Yeah. But not sappy. No, we don't want that.
No.
It's not reality. Okay. Well, let's
Oh,
wrap it up
Tom?
here.
Tom,
Yeah.
I just couldn't help myself. I promised I wasn't going to gab, but here I am. This thing was written in the 30s, and it was never copyrighted by the original author, but it was messed around with toward the end of the decade, and other people got involved. But so did the artists who sang this song as hits. Johnny Cash being one, and Gene Autry being one, and talking about it being sappy and so forth. When Johnny Cash sang it, his fourth verse was, "You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away." So he's kind of begging her to stay on.
Yeah.
But Gene Autry comes along and he concludes with, "You told me once, dear, you really loved me, and no one else could come between. But now you've left me and loved another. You've shattered all my dreams."
You shattered
So
all my dreams. Yeah.
This
That's right.
has been messed
Each
around with a
one had
lot.
their own little verse to it.
Yeah.
I studied up on it and noticed that. Yeah, it just seems to have everybody that sings it comes up with a verse that's very fits right in very nicely. Yeah. All right. So you'll never think of that song the same way. Last one, I'm gonna move on back to a jazz composer, Chick Corea. In the fall, if I teach, and I still plan to, I'm going to do what somebody suggested. Part of the body of material we will look at in the fall will be music of compositions by and music of and introduction to great jazz pianists that are lesser known. Now, Chick Corea is not one, but we will look at him. But we will. There are many great compositions by these better known jazz pianists that you never heard either. So I'll play some of those as well as I want to introduce you to some lesser known but great jazz pianists and their music too. That's for the fall. So this is a little taste. This is a Chick Corea piece, and it's written for his dad. Chick Corea's Spanish origin, Spanish roots, and so as he begins to mature in musically, you can see it in his music. He really starts to get really in touch with his Spanish roots, and when he just starts to really study that music. And his dad was named Armando, and so he wrote this for his dad, and it's a rumba. And if I have time at the end of this piece, I'll talk about a rumba rhythm. But it's a dance form. It's a dance rhythm, Spanish. And so he called it Armando's Rumba. have no more to say. The music says it all for me, but I want to hear from you before we go today. I'll start calling names. I'm real bad about that.
Well, I enjoyed it because it was more like a dance, and I miss being able to dance.
Yeah. Yeah, you miss being able to dance. So you used to dance?
Well, we used to go to someplace called Bop Club, but so this reminded me of when we'd go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw I wish I could remember her name. We were looking at YouTube last night during dinner. We often just look at YouTube performances. We looked at Horowitz playing some Mozart and this great woman who's famous for her Bach. And then we came across a really interesting program, and I'm sorry I can't think of the name of it, but we saw a Spanish flamenco dancer. She's considered like the greatest present flamenco dancer. Oh man, you would have loved to seen her. If I can remember her name, I'll shoot it to you. Yes, it was astounding. Flamenco dancing, if any of you have ever seen it, it's astounding, the difference between the upper body, what it's doing, and what the feet are doing. I mean, she can do stuff as fast on her feet as I can play on the piano. And she was doing rhythms I can't play on the piano with her feet. Astounding. So much great music and art in the form of so many different around the world. And she was being accompanied in this country. You'd go to a dance studio and you'd see the dancers being accompanied by usually a pianist or something like that, whether it's ballet or whether it's jazz or whatever, modern jazz when they're rehearsing. Well, her accompanists were a guitar player and a Spanish drummer and a harpsichordist. I mean, it was perfect for the music. It was great. Sorry, went off in a different direction. All right, before we leave today, I need a few more just check-ins here. We got 2 more of these. I've got the music lined up. I know what I'm going to be doing. I'm glad you keep coming back because I keep doing the work. That's good. All right. So, any last minute thoughts or anything? Anybody, please. I enjoy seeing you each week. See what you have to say. All right. Ann, do you have anything? I'm gonna call on names. Ann, do you have anything to say?
Diana has unmuted herself to say something first.
Yes. Yeah, unmute yourself, Ann.
Well, this is Ann, and
Yes.
I thank you for all the time that it takes to put together these classes. I've told you that before, but I know what it's like having been in education for 43 years myself. So thank you so much for sharing your love of music and your expertise with us.
Boy, I picked the right person there, didn't I? Thank you, Ann. That
You are
boosted my
so
day.
welcome. Thank you.
You know, we're also isolated. We think that we know these things, but when people, people need encouragement, and I encourage all of you. Every one of you has a challenge in your life, at least one right now, that's either directly related to COVID or was there before, and the COVID's made it much more difficult. I know that about I don't know what it is, but I know that about all of you. And you're in my thoughts each week, and I see your faces, although I can't remember your name. Donna's our tech person today. I want to get some feedback from Donna.
I just want to go back to the You Are My Sunshine, because I think I had a hard time not crying through the whole thing, but what you did with it made me kind of connected me to the people that I've lost in my life who sang that song with me or with my children. And so kind of tied those bridges together for me of the loss and the memories and the song all together. So that just was amazing. But I'm really enjoying this. I'm learning so much.
Well, we appreciate your what you're doing for us too, the technical support you're giving us. And that was a great observation, because I haven't touched on that yet, just in the periphery, that we're living in you can't avoid the grief of this time. There's too much around us. There's a massive amount of grief. and every one of us is touched by it in some way, somewhere, not just only by the loss of life unnecessarily, in my opinion. And there are, if you think about it this way, just take one aspect of our culture. And I'll end with this so you can keep it in your thoughts and, think about it. No, I won't do that today. I won't end that way. If I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it next week. So anybody else?
Tom, I just wanted to follow up on the comment that was just made about You Are My Sunshine. I think most people sing it not as Gene Autry or the others sang it as a country western boyfriend girlfriend song. They sing it as lullabies to their children.
Yeah.
And when you think
right.
about it, in the sweetness of that, I think maybe that's how it was originally composed. I don't have any way of knowing, just guessing, but I can tell you I've heard more mothers whispering that into their child at bedtime than I ever have in a saloon.
Yes. I believe my mother probably sang that to me as a kid.
I have to
'Cause
say that my daughter and I both have matching silver rings that have "You Are My Sunshine" written on it, because I think of it as that way, as an homage to her.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, you said that, Alan, and I just recall, I just got this vague memory now that I have known that melody and those words, just those few words, for as far back as I can remember. So obviously my mother must have sung that to me. She probably did. It's like, it's the theme, of course, is everlasting, but it's so beautifully said, isn't it, with that simple melody. All right. Well, all of you take care. Keep doing what you need to do to stay safe. We will, this will come to an end but the world is already different and your lives are already different, and they will be different in some way. And I think in good ways too, so I know mine is, will be. I just have to be patient. And it's good to see you all this week. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Peace to all of you this week. Bye.
And the same to you, Tom. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Bye. Thank you, Alan, so much today. Thank you.
Thank you for all coming. Bye.
Hey, there's Mike.
Bye, Mike.
Hey, Mike. Hey, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Good to see your face. Yeah.
See you next week, Tom.
See ya. Trying to get out of here. Just on.
I'll end
Sure.
it. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Bye.